Okay. So Juan, like I said, has been wonderful and amazing in helping us out since the beginning of this year, doing all these great talks. His name is Juan Grajales, and he's a software developer at Economic Security Planning. He has roughly 3 years of experience working in the industry and about 1 year working with Angular Framework. And today he is going to talk about transforming data using Angular pipes. So take it away, Juan.
All right. Well, thank you guys for having me. And again, thank you guys for the time. I really appreciate it. I think pipes is also something that maybe many of you have come across. And if you haven't, then it's something that you will use if you're using Angular. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I always get stuck on this. Okay, there you go. Let's go ahead and share. Give 1 second. Caught me off guard there, dude. It's been a while. It's been a show. Okay. And
there we go.
Okay, you guys see that?
Yep, sure can.
Awesome. Okay, so yeah, like I said, today we're going to talk about Angular pipes. And if you haven't come across, then lucky you. I'm going to try to explain it at the most sensible way for you to understand. So let's go ahead and start. And all right. Okay, so today's agenda, we're going to go over understanding pipes in Angular, the definition of pipes, some examples. We're going to see a lot of built-in pipes that Angular already provides. And we're going to do some examples with those. Also, parameterizing these pipes, adding parameters to them. Some of them accept them, some of them don't. We're also going to talk about chaining the pipes. We're going to try to create our own custom pipe. And I think one of the most important things, and probably a little more advanced, is talking about pure versus impure pipes. And that one actually got me one time. So we should definitely go over it. But if you want, you guys just could follow along. If you have already the setup of Node.js, the npm package manager, you have Angular, you can follow along, or you can, I have LiveShare, so you can just jump in on my Visual Studio Code and we can code together. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share the LiveShare so you guys can hop in. And I'll do that. Let's see if I can share collaboratively. Yeah, let's do that. Where's it? Join? Share. Okay. Probably should have had this done before. And so, yeah, if you have also, I believe you have to have LiveShare to join. I'm not sure, but I'm going to go ahead and I'll see if I can make an invite. I'm not sure. Copy collaboration link. I'm going to put it in the chat. And if you want, what I want to get out of this is just for all of us to try to, get our hands in there, start working on it, and maybe try to get a better sense of this topic. So I'm going to go and share the chat. So if you click on this link is going to take you to be able to hop into my Visual Studio Code. And in the meantime, let's see if start. Okay. Did everybody receive the link? Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so
join the session.
Oh yeah, there we go. That goes again. Okay, so here we go. So a little bit about me is a software developer, been roughly around 3 years.
Mark Thompson joined the session.
I do have experience with Angular framework, roughly around a year and a little more than a year. Located in Los Angeles, California. Most of my tech is on AWS, Angular, and Python. And really what I'm looking for this year is to create more content on Angular and AWS and possibly become an AWS hero. So that's the goal for this year. Okay, so let's start with Angular pipes. I don't know how many of you, if any of you guys can in the chat, just kind of give me some +1s there if you've used Angular pipes before. just to get a sense of how many are here to help me in case I get in trouble. Okay, so I got Mark Thompson, nice, Jim Dean, okay. So perfect. So I might not have to do this. No, I'm kidding. All right, so Angular pipes is a great way to use. It's a great way to use these way to transform information, right? And think about it just as any kind of pipe. When anything goes in there, something's about to go out. But in this case, it's transforming that information, right? So when you think about pipes in Angular, you're passing in some input data. It goes into that pipe, and then it transforms that data and it comes out to the view, right? And so when we talk about this, we say pipes in Angular are used to transform data before it is displayed in the view. Angular pipes takes data as inputs and formats or transform the data to display it in the template. So this is great for some of the use cases, and we'll see some of the built-in are if you want to, probably one is the currency, for example. You might need a USD currency, the dollar currency versus a different currency in a different country. Well, this is a great way to get that input data of a number and transform that number so it could represent a currency value. Another one is uppercase. And so we're going to start seeing some of them. And I think I'm going to go and we'll go into the Visual Studio Code and we'll go and take a look at some of the examples. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and set up some of the information, some of the stuff to get us started. So I'm going to walk through a little bit of what I've done already. Here we go. So far, all I've done was just run ng new. I call this Angular pipes. So I ran that command, and I went ahead and I just added students, a student object. And you see the student object has a name, has course, has date attended, date of birth, gender. And then we have a student service, and this student service is just really sort of providing that information, providing the static data, and giving us that information. I'm going to put total days attended. I'm going to just put it to 10, as we are students of this Angular course.
Justin Bush joined the session.
With students with Angular course. So far, I don't know, Julie. Probably let's leave it as 10 for this year. Yeah, and our fictitious date of birth here. We have the names and so forth. So you get the point. If you were following along and you want to copy this information, just let me know. Put it on the chat, and I'll just paste it, or just copy paste it on the chat. Okay, so great. Now what we need to do is we need to go into the app component.cs file, and here is where we're going to have to start working with that student service to display that. But I guess what I'm going to do first is let's see. Let's go ahead and yeah. I'm gonna delete the HTML. We don't need that, so let's go ahead and just delete all of that. Save. Okay, so in this case, we're gonna get students with the student type. Okay, so now it's giving me an error because we need to import that. So let's do a quick fix. Okay, so we got our students to come in. We get, let's go ahead and set up our total days attended. Total days attended. I think I spelled that right. It's gonna be a number. Okay, and what I'm going to do is, because this information, we're getting it from the service, let's go ahead and call the constructor. And I'm going to call the service in here. I'm going to call it private. I'm going to call this student service. And we're getting that student service. It's right here. I'm going to just click on that and get that information. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just initialize it on the one of the lifecycle hooks that's called ng on init. So it's on init, yeah, it's this one right here. And then all I gotta do is just do ng on init. And I'm just gonna set this student, so I'm just gonna set this student that we have here on the class with the students in the service. So I'm just gonna say this dot student service dot student, right? So that's just gonna get the information from from the student service just to get all the students. And the same for the total. I'm going to do the same thing because we have total days attended. I'm just going to do this dot total days attended. This dot student service dot total days attended. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so right now we're not showing anything. We're not displaying anything. So I'm gonna just start creating a table for this, so we can start getting some visualization of what we're looking at here, and just kind of get the ball rolling there. So here we go. Let's see. Okay. For the sake of time, I will cut some of this off. So I'm just gonna copy paste some of the stuff that I have here. I'm gonna paste it here. And so far here we have div class container. I still haven't, container right now is nothing. I haven't done anything. I have a table with a row of a header name, course, the days attended. I do have our percentage of attendance, our date of birth, and our gender. And if you remember last time we talked about the directives of NG4, different directives of Angular that are built in. Well, here's one of them. And we're using the students. Again, we're using the students that's coming from here. And looping over it with the name, the attributes of that student object. So remember the student object here, you have name, course, days attended. That information is there. So let's go. So we're looping over that name, course, days attended. Here we're doing some arithmetics here to get a percentage, date of birth, and gender. So let's see. I think the student. So I'm getting students, but it's not coming out. Student name. And in the student service, I have, student. Did I spell that right? Yeah, students. Student service, student array. I've got this students, get that information, and then this student should come out. Am I missing something? I feel like I'm not sure why it's not rendering. Let's see, maybe I am missing something. Is it, oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, so what I'm missing is the, so what I'm missing here is the, I can either provide the service, I haven't provided it yet. So I could either provide it in the module or I can provide it in the component itself. So for this one, I'm just gonna use in the component itself, I'm gonna provide the service. So that means it's gonna create an instance of this service for this component. And it's called the student service. Hopefully that should do it. Okay, nice. There you go. Let's see. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
All good. Yep. Oh, that was a close one. Okay. All right. So let's style it a little bit. Let's give it some. Let's give it some styling. Let's. I do have some style here a little bit. So container and table. Let me give it some styling. Okay, we saved that. Okay, so we just kind of centered it. We just gave it some information, but you can kind of see already. You know, you have the name, you have the course, you have the days attended, percentage, all that. So here's where pipes kind of come in handy, and here's where we have built-in pipes in Angular, and I can go into the Angular docs, Angular pipes. We can go to understanding pipes. We can see the built-in pipes they have. They have a date pipe, they have an uppercase, lowercase, currency, decimal, percent pipe. So all these pipes could be really helpful, and you may wonder how. Well, let's say, for example, let's start with the date pipe. And if you look at the date pipe, what it's taking in is taking in a value, okay, as a date. And we can see some examples here. Okay, so here the value could be a string, number, it could be a date. And here's some of the parameters, either the format, time zone, locale. Okay, so let's see some examples of how they use it. Let's see if we can go. Okay, so here's a usage example from Angular docs, and it tells you, let's see. Okay, so today is today. Okay, and then they just use this, I don't know what you call this symbol. It's like a, what would you call that symbol?
Pipe.
Pipe? Yeah, that's what it is. Pipe. Okay. So there's a pipe. I wasn't sure. Okay. So then they use the pipe symbol and they use the date. So let's go ahead and just use that for our. I wasn't sure.
Vertical line thing.
I didn't want to. Yeah, I should have taken a wild guess there. Okay. So let's close this. Many tabs. Okay. So in a sense, when we have the date of birth, for example, it's kind of messy. We don't really know what's going on there. So let's just go ahead and just use the pipe symbol and let's call it date. Let's see if that works. Okay, there you go. That was pretty quick. So you already see what it gave you. It gave you this sort of short form of information compared to what it was before. You just remove that. You start to see that it just gives you this long list. And so with date pipes, that's kind of helpful, right? If you have if you have time information, if you have dates that you want to display in a certain format, well, you have a whole bunch of information in different formats that you may want to use. So we can use here we go. We can use some examples. We can find, like, for example, we can do the full date. And so I can just go ahead and I'll just use the pipe. Okay. Date, and then full date. So there you go. You kind of have the day, and you have the year, you have the month, the day, and the year of the birthday. So it's pretty helpful in that case. I mean, there's other cases we can go ahead and we can try to use, for example, the uppercase, and it's really simple, right? It's just adding that pipe to the end of the attribute or the value. And so you start to see that all of the genders are uppercase. The same with lowercase if you wanted to do that. Let's see how that happens. And so all of them are in lowercase. So you have a ton of different built-in pipes in Angular that can be really helpful so you don't have to do it and just kind of focus on the business logic of things. So I think that's pretty helpful in that sense. Let's go and see if we can find other. I'm trying to look to see. Yeah. So again, we can go into the Angular docs, and we can go into references. We can go into API reference, and if I type in pipe, you start to see different key value pipe is also one that's used. Lowercase, uppercase. We use the date, async. We can also, let's say, for example, when we're looking at this information, we have percentage, but it doesn't really show it as a percentage. So one thing that we could use is the percent pipe. And so I'm just going to illustrate that. I'm just going to remove this, and I think it's percent. Let's see. Okay, there you go. And so it's a lot easier, right? So it's information that's coming into the pipe, and it's information that's coming out, and it's being formatted into a different, and it's being transformed or formatted into a different setting, different view, no? So far, any give me some plus ones there if you guys kind of understood that or you guys got that. Yeah, okay, nice. Thank you, Mark. Okay, so let's go ahead. Oh, and actually, and for percent, I know percent is probably a big one there. Let's see.
So Thomas may have a question. Do you have a question, Thomas?
Yeah, a quick one. So I saw with the date pipe, reading the documentation, it looks like there are multiple given possible arguments that you can place into that pipe. You know, it says time zone, it gave date format. I guess I was wondering, how could you use more than one of those at a time? Like, let's say you wanted to specify a time zone and a format.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's give it a shot. I know that you see that. Okay. So for right now, I'm using. So what's happening here is, from my understanding, is that you get this date of birth. So our student has this date of birth attribute. This date of birth attribute happens to be a date object. But when I look at the description, the input value of what can come into that pipe, it could be a string, it could be a number, or it can be a date object. So ours is the later. So that's that date object that comes into this date. And now we're giving it another parameter that's called full date. And so that parameter is really that format. And so if we wanted to go to time zone, I believe you just have to do that and then give it a string. Let's say, for example, what string can we give it for time zone? Let's see. Custom format options. Not sure if this would be time zone format. Okay, so here we got some examples, but they only just do the format. They don't give the time zone. Let's see, date, same stuff. So yeah, I'm trying to see what time zone would look like. What can I give it? Is there any suggestions there? Oh, GMT. Okay, let's give it. So let's see if uppercase GMT like that. Let's see. So nothing really happened, huh? Still the same. Let's see if maybe, but I think it's like that with the colon separating it. Yeah, I'm not sure what other GMT. Any other suggestions? Maybe EST, maybe, or maybe it has to be lowercase. Not sure.
I mean, even if it were to work, since you have the date, just giving the numerical day rather than the time, it's not going to matter what time zone you're in. It's always going to show the same thing.
Okay, so but I think that's what it would be, right? And we'd have to use this kind of format. I'm still bad that they don't have another reference. Maybe, let's see. Maybe there's another one that might have that. Okay, so here we go. Let's maybe percent pipe, and let's try to use that and see if we can get multiple parameters in the percent pipe. So far, we have this percent, and that's fine. But let's say if we wanted to add digits as well. So let's see. We have value, digit info. We also have locale. Okay. Not sure about that either. But let's give it a shot. Let's see. Okay, so here they have digit, the min integer digit, so the minimum that we can have. So we can put for our percent, we can put 1 for now. The minimum fraction digit. Okay, so that would be at the right side of the decimal. So let's. That would look like. Okay, and so they use a dash. Okay, so I'm gonna do .2. Okay, so that would look something like that. What we have, well, we're only using one parameter. I'll try to look for another pipe that uses more, but for right now, I think that if you need multiple, it's gonna be like that. But I don't know if if anybody else has any suggestions on that, but I think that's the way to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's some samples in the currency pipe.
Oh, where?
In the currency pipe.
Okay, let's take a look at the currency pipe. Let's see.
Where you can specify, so the currency, the symbol, the language.
Display, digits info. So this one could be good because you can also use digit info. And I'm curious as to sometimes even currency code.
So they also included the locale, like, so they had the currency, which is Canadian dollars, a symbol, and then FR for the French locale.
Awesome. Yeah. So this explains it. This is a great example. Thank you, Julie, because yeah, this one gives it a currency, which you're using that pipe, but then you have to name the attribute or you have to name that, what would you call that? The parameter. So you have to name the parameter. So this is an example. I don't know if you can see that, but if you go into currency pipe, you'll see, for example, the currency, the name of the pipe, and then you have the colon, and then the name, symbol, and then the value as well. So I think that should answer your question.
Hey, Juan, in your service, does birthday include, is it a timestamp birthday or just the date?
I think it's just
because you can, okay.
Oh, because you can change the time?
Because then you'd be able to see, right, GMT versus PST. You'd be able to see those. Or if you added like a, you know, another value to your model and then your service that's, you know, some currency, then you could add that into your HTML to show the multiple parameters using the currency pipe.
Yeah, I think the currency pipe would be a good example of that. I currently don't have anything with currency, but maybe, yeah, why not? Let's give it a shot. Let's see how that would look like. I'm gonna just use this fraction and just pretend it's currency, but let's go ahead and use it. So here we go. We got currency, and what does it look like when we just do currency? Okay, so it just kind of goes to the default to the dollar. And so we have 1, 10, 6, 60 cents. And let's say, okay, currency. Well, I guess we can use one of these. What would the Canadian one look like? Is it the same? Let's find out. Okay, so it's just CA. Okay, and then if I wanted to add the symbol, minimum of 4. Well, I don't think we're too broke for that. $1.60. But let's try. So we got symbol. Might just give you a bunch of zeros in the beginning. And then we're gonna do this single quotes. Forward that and 4.2-2. And so let's see what we get from that. Okay, so yeah, okay. So it's just minimum of 4. So that's why you get 0,001. And then we ask for a range from the minimum of having 2 to the maximum of having 2, which is just leaving it at 2 digits on the right side of the decimal place. But that's a pretty good example of how to use the currency and additional parameters of that. So it's pretty good, pretty cool. Okay, so let's see if we can start creating our own parameters. And let's say we can create our own percentage parameter. So I know that there's we can go ahead and I'm gonna create, how do we terminal to this? Definitely gonna need your help on this one. NG. So I'm gonna call it generate pipe. I'm gonna call this percentage. And it's gonna generate a new pipe. Maybe not. Okay. I have to CD. Okay, CD into Angular pipes. And then it's gonna generate a new pipe. And so NG and then generate, G for generate, P for pipe, and just the name of the pipe. And so it should do a lot of the work, but really what it's gonna do is gonna create a file here. It already created the file, percentage pipe. And if you go into the op module, it's gonna also declare it here, percentage pipe. So we can use it in the application. Okay, so you see a lot of, so this is what really a pipe looks like. I'm gonna close this. And so here is the decorator at pipe, and you got the object with the name. So this is going to be the name of the pipe that we're going to use, percentage. We've got the class, which implements the pipe transform, and here's the function transform. So really, what we're going to just try to do is try to get that number, and do a lot of the arithmetic. Do a lot of the arithmetic from what we're doing here. So I'm just going to delete this and just pass me the days attended. So let's go ahead and kind of walk through this, and let's see if we can do this. Okay. So the first thing is going to be the value. Well, what's the value that we're getting? We're getting is just like the days of attendance. So I'm just going to call this days attended. Okay. And we know that that's going to be a number. But we also need another. So this is going to be the parameter value, which is going to be total days attended. And we know that that's also going to be a number. Okay. All good for now? Yeah. Okay. And then let's go ahead and start. So we're not going to return null. What we're just going to do is we're just going to do, okay, days attended, basically the same arithmetic that we were doing, no? When we were doing days attended divided by the total days attended. Okay, cool. So, and then I'm just going to multiply this by 100. Okay, so far nothing happens. But I just kind of want you guys to see that, you know, this is how you would create a custom. Sometimes you even might have it in your own different folder with different pipes, but for this project, it's small. We don't have to worry about that. But you definitely have to override this transform function to use it. And so far we haven't used it. We're not using it at all. So let's go to student days attended. This is going to be in the percentage. So let's go and use that. Okay. Oh, give me that uppercase for percentage. Okay, let's see what we get. Component. Okay, great. So it says student days. Okay, and so the error is occurring because it's expecting 2 arguments, but we only got 1. Okay, so the next argument is going to be the student dot total. Oh no, sorry. It's going to be total days attended. See if that kicks in. Okay, so now here's what we did, right? We created this percentage pipe, and we did more of the arithmetic instead of having. And maybe I should have commented out, but honestly, all we did was instead of having that the days attended. No. That days attended here and dividing that by the total days attended. We're kind of handling that logic on the pipe, right? We're transforming that data to the pipe. Obviously, it's still not great, but I guess you could kind of see the sense of what I'm doing, right? And I can change this to also have let's see, for example, I can do, I can add like a decimal as well if you want to decrease it to a fixed size. So I can maybe, let's see if that can help. Let's see, 2, 6, and then a decimal. Okay. Okay, give me a second. I could do a decimal. Also a number, and so this could be our second parameter that's coming in, and in this case, because it comes.
What comes in is editing your pipe.
I believe because it comes in chronological order. I think it's fine that it goes in that way. Where I don't have to add a where I don't have to, you know how, remember with the currency, I deleted it, but for example here where we have the symbol. In this case, because it's in order, I don't have to label. I don't have to give it, you know, for example, decimal here. I can just give it the name, the value, and it's gonna also just automatically do that here for the number. I don't know if you kind of understood that. I mean, that kind of goes back to that question, Thomas, of what you talked about, and so that's another thing to look at. I think here they use the symbol because it's out of order. And so they wanted to make sure that, hey, this is for the actual symbol parameter, not the decimal. So in this case, we don't have to do that. And we can just delete that. And it still works. It's going to give you two digits to the decimal place. So let me get some +2s if you guys are going to understood that or need me to repeat something. All right, cool. So are you guys gonna help me out on maybe creating a filter pipe? Does anybody want to take on that challenge? Let's filter by name, maybe. I can do some of
I
that.
see Mark shaking his head yes. So Mark has offered to help you out.
Awesome, Mark. Okay, great. Let's do it. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm gonna do some of the heavy lifting here. I'm just gonna get the terminal, command line, and if I can find it, where did I put that terminal? Let's see. Is there a shortcut?
I think you can do control backtick.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Well, I guess this is the new one, but I don't even. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna do another one. Let's call this filter. And so it's gonna create another pipe, and good. Close it, and so. Okay, here you go. Okay, so we got a filter pipe. Our main goal is really for this pipe. Let's see if we can filter by name, right? So let's I'm just gonna comment this out. Let's see if we can get a filter by name. And so far we have our names here: Julie, Thomas, Mark. And let's just go ahead and create a filter where as we start to type, it just kind of checks to see that hey, these letters are included in the name. So where would we start first?
So I guess first things first, I'd probably set up the parameters.
Okay, so let's set up these parameters.
And then let's see if VScode lets me IntelliSense where this comes from.
See if I can. You got that? Okay, so he's just imported the student name.
They're editing it for Vine.
I always mess up partial. Is that how you spell partial?
Partial. Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah, partial name.
Okay.
Okay, so that's going to be the parameter that's coming in, right? That's the string that we're expecting from the user.
Yeah. All right. And then the rest of it, I think, is JavaScript magic. Let's go ahead and filter the students by if the student name includes that partial. There you go. I can spell.
Okay, awesome. All right, great. So now, so here we go. So he created the filter pipe. We're just going to go ahead. Now we need to get that information from the user. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go to the HTML. On top, I'm going to go into getting the input. So let's do it above here. I'm going to just create a div here, just I guess for habits, input. Here we go. It's going to be of a type. It's going to be of type text.
Justin Bush is editing the same line as you.
Yeah, I tried. I think I succeeded one time muting it.
Mark Thompson left line.
Came back. And I forgot how to do it. So. Gotta Google it. Okay, so now let's add a placeholder to this. Search by name. Okay, and the other thing that I'm gonna do is just okay, so here we do need that that information to be captured. So I'm gonna do an energy model, and we're gonna do some two-way binding here.
They're editing the same line as you.
And let's call this. What'd you call it? You call it partial. You can call it. What is it? Partial name. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we're getting this information, well, okay. So
Mark Thompson left your line.
partial name error. Okay, component. Okay. Anyway, let's go. I know that when I do the ng module, I know I'm going to have to import the folder, the form. So let's go into, import. Yeah. And I'm going to say forms module. So that goes in and that, okay. So does that take away some of the errors? Maybe a little bit. But the other thing is that we also need to call this, we also need to get that. So we also need to pass in this, it's called partial name, and it's going to be a type string. And for right now, we're just going to set it to an empty. So when this turns on, when this component is live, it's just going to set it to an empty string. So no filtering should be involved here. But let's see. I mean, I think that should work. Am I missing something? And let's see. Oh, well, I guess the other thing that we're missing is just a filter, because otherwise it wouldn't work. We have to call it. So we just have to call it filter by its name. I think that's the name. So let's take a look. This is percentage. This is filter. Yeah, filter. Okay. We got an error there. Error is in the template of component of students. Oh, because we're expecting undefined durable. No.
I think it might just actually be mad that there's no 2 arguments.
Could that be the case? Oh, yeah. Okay, so yeah. So then let's go ahead and pass in let's go ahead and see. So it's going to be partial name. And is it going to be in camp? No, I don't think so. I think it would just be partial name. Let's see if that doesn't get mad. I was expecting it to be, no, not partial. Yeah, partial name, right?
I think a problem that might also be present is that it says, I mean, just looking at the error, or at least the previous error, it was trying to assign a type unknown into the iterable. And if you take a look at filter.pipe.ts, you say that if you take a onto the file filter.pipe.ts, it says that you are expecting a return type of unknown.
Oh, got you, right. Yeah, thanks.
Mark Thompson is editing your pipe.
Okay, so that was a great catch. Now I think, I mean, it should work, right? I think, let's see, we have a lot of J's, so I'm going to try with J. Okay, there you go. So we're starting to get a filter here, a filter pipe. So let's see, Thomas. Yeah, we have Thomas. Also, if we put lowercase, it doesn't work. So, that's something to fix. If we do for mod, yeah. So we have the filter pipe here working. So nice, man. Good job, guys. So was that Thomas that came up with the return? Yeah, great job. Yeah. And great job to Mark. Thank you for helping me on that. Okay, so far everybody's understanding a little bit, or they kind of give me some +3s if you kind of got that, understood that a little bit, or you want me to go over some stuff. Awesome. Okay, so now here's where it gets a little more difficult, and I think this one got me when I was working, and it was knowing the difference between pure and impure pipes. And for me, it was a bit challenging because it was a bug that I was working on. I did a pure pipe to filter, and for some reason, when new things weren't coming, or changes were being made, it wasn't registering and it wasn't showing. So by default, all the pipes that we've done so far have been pure pipes. And those pure pipes really just detect the pure change of an input value. And so a pure change would be a change in that primitive value. So for example, a change in a string, changing a Boolean from true to false, that's going to register on that change detection, and it's going to show, and it's going to run on that pure pipe. So it's going to trigger that pure pipe. Also, a change in reference of an object. Changing the reference of an object is also going to trigger a pure pipe. When it's not going to change, it's not going to change when you, let's say, for example, when you add, for example, let's say we have an array. In this case, we have an array of students. And if we were to add another student, it's not going to register when we're in the filter pipe, it's not going to register because it's not a pure change. And so you get this unexpected behavior because you're expecting this change. So here, let's see if we can maybe do an example of it. And let's see if we can, here we go. So let's go into, yeah. Let's go ahead and create a break on this. And I'm just going to create a button. Let's call this student. And I'm just going to static, just create an object. Student. Yeah, that looks okay. Oh, that's pretty. Okay, so let's go into here. Go ahead and add the student, and I'm just gonna see if I can maybe copy a student from student service, and let's just give it a different name. Let's see. Oh wait, hold on. So we're gonna go into this dot students. No. That and then we're gonna just add a new student. Okay, great. So we have our button to add a new student. I think that should work if we were just to do it now. Let's see. No, it didn't come out. Let's see. Give it a different name, maybe. Let's see who we have. Give it a 4%. And I don't think it. Okay, so it doesn't add the student either way. Let's see. Why not? Add student. Click on the button. We add the student. We don't have a partial name. We're not using the filter, or is it already? Okay, give me a second. Let's see. Button click. Yeah, I'm not sure why it doesn't add to the student. If I have here on the click, but any suggestions?
I think that the pipe is already being used. So we're running into that bug you were mentioning, or the unexpected behavior. If we remove the pipe.
Even if it's empty though? Yeah?
Yeah, I think if we remove the pipe, it'll show properly.
Okay, so let's add a student. Yeah. Yeah, so I kind of gave my punchline there. Okay, well, but here you go. So that's kind of the idea, right? And that's an unexpected behavior because as the user is clicking this add student and you're adding this student, it doesn't come out when we start adding this filter. And the reason is because it's not a pure change that we see there. There's no change in the actual input value, and there's no change to the object reference. And all it's doing is just adding more to that object. So one possible way to solve this is, one way to possibly solve this is to change the reference of this object. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll just take another stab at this. Let's see. So you're not gonna see it because, yeah, like you mentioned, we were using it. I think that when we have it, when we remove it, that's when you start to see it. So I don't know if that made it sense. I think I might have confused people, but if you're confused, just give me a plus 10 and Let's see if we can run it back. Maybe I can give another example of this. Let's see. And so let's see what other example I can probably do the I can probably try. Well, it's just that filter pipe just takes away. It's strange though, because even if you're not. Oh, okay. All right. So here's what I. Okay, so here's what I can do then. It doesn't. All right, let's try it. All right, so let's just do a filter by name. Let's do a base case where if students, I'm just gonna do a base case. Maybe I can return something that is not filtered, where students.length equals to 0, or the partial and name equals to just an empty string. I can then return just return the students. You know, have to. Otherwise, and then maybe that might not have to, you know, run the filter. Not sure. Let's see. Let's see if it's not, if there's no filter there, then it should run. But if I start, okay, so okay, yeah. So it runs like that. But if there is, it's funny how I'm like learning as I'm teaching. But all right, so if there is a filter, so if I start filtering out J, oh wow, there's no J now.
That's my bad. I updated the code and I created a bug.
Oh, is that? Oh, the lowercase? Got it.
Yeah, my bad.
No, I that's great because you were trying to, yeah, you were trying to fix that bug. Okay. Yeah, that was a bug.
Sorry.
It's all good. I think, yeah, so, okay, so is it good now? Good to go? Yeah, okay, so now we got Julie, but now if I were to add, so let me go back. I'm gonna, let's see the example here. So really, okay, so remember, pure changes is something that is actually changing the input. So if it's primitive, you're going to change the actual value. So if it's Boolean and the actual value is true, you change it to false, then that filter should be called. And yeah, that filter should be called. And if you change in that object reference, then it's also considered a pure change, meaning that this meaning that this filter pipe should be called as well. However, because all of our pipes are defaulted to pure, what we're gonna do now is an impure change. We're just adding onto that object. We're not changing the reference. We're not changing an exact input value. So here we go. So if I were to press, so again, I'm just gonna add the student. Okay, Lauren comes up, I refresh, she's gone. But when I'm in filter mode, all we see is Julie, Justin, okay? So I'm gonna go into adding that student, and you're not gonna see Lauren come up because again, it's not a pure change. So that's kind of the point that I want to get across, and that was the bug that I was facing, and it was quite annoying. I wasn't sure why that was, but it had to do with just the fact that these pipes are not by default pure, are not by default impure, and so any impure changes that you make, you're going to get unexpected behaviors on a pure pipe. So, but if I were to remove this pipe, and by removing it, just eliminate it, you'll see that
Justin Bush left the session.
You'll see that Lauren came back, so she's there. So that's kind of the difference there between pure and impure. We can change this, so I'd love to hear what other people would think of improving this. So how would we fix this? If we know the two pure changes, how can we go ahead and fix this? Any suggestions? Well, we know that when it comes to the object, we can change the object reference. So let's go ahead and change the object reference of that. And let's go in here and so I'm going to comment this out. And so here's where we're doing the add student, right? And the add student is just pushing the value, but what we need to do is we need to change the reference to that. So I'm just going to call that copy equal to an object and assign it, and it's going to be to this stuff students. Okay, so we just created a copy of this students. By making a copy, we created another object, and it has a different address, has a different reference. And so now that we've created a copy, we can go ahead and then we can say, okay, I'm going to copy this line. Okay, so now that we've got that, I'm going to say, hey, this,
left the session.
That copy. Let's see if that works. Maybe it's just got to be copy. Okay. Okay, so now now we're adding our new person in. And now we can say, now we can just assign, hey, this student is going to equal to this new reference, and it's just copy. And I think that should work. So again, here is where we are changing the reference. And by changing the reference, we make a pure change. And then by that, we get the filter pipe to be called. So let's go ahead and run that same example. And hopefully it should work. Let's see. Okay, so we've got, okay, so here we go. Remember when we typed in Julie or we typed in Jay, we have all the J's come out. And when we clicked on add student, Lauren didn't come out. But if we add that, Lauren still doesn't come out. Okay, so what is going on? Let's see. Lauren still doesn't come out. Okay, so there goes. Well, I changed the object reference.
Yeah, Mark said it, but Lauren doesn't have a J in it, so it wouldn't show up.
That's a great. See, that's I can't do this without you. That is a great observation. Okay, I would have gone. That's things that I would have gone crazy about. But okay, so great. Thank you for that. So here we go. I'm going to create another name called Jarin. I don't have another, or Jenny. I'll call it Jenny. Let's see. Jenny. Okay, Jenny. Please work for me. Okay. So now let's try it again. So we're going to start with the letter J. You're going to see that you have the 4 names there. If we add this student that also is with the letter J and is with the filter, of course, then Jenny comes out. And that could be the same. Again, that could be the same when if I were to comment this out, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to just comment this and let's see, just to be clear. That this is the reason why, because this is not a pure change. So let's do the same thing. And where I'm here at J, we see the 4 names, but then when I add student, Jenny doesn't, sorry, Lauren's still there. Let me run it again. Okay, so Jenny is here, let's save. Sorry for the confusion, but what I want to show you is just this is a key point here, no? And understanding that when it's a pure change, it's going to trigger that pure pipe. When it's impure change, it's not going to trigger our pipe. So let's go ahead and run it again. Battery's running low. Give me 1 second. Okay. So now now we have Jenny, just like we have here in the copy. I'm gonna put J, and then when I add the student, she doesn't appear. But if I remove the filter and I remove the pipe, I know Jenny's there and I press her twice. So it comes up. And so these are unexpected behaviors, and that's what I was facing with. I thought, it's kind of crucial to understand this and understand the difference between a pure and versus impure, because this could easily be a bug that could be a nightmare. It could be tough to track down because it's abstracted from us. So another way that we can fix this is, and this is kind of what I did, but after doing some more research, Angular doesn't really recommend you to do this because impure pipes. Remember, we can do a default pipe. We can do our pipes are defaulted to pure, but we can also do an impure pipe, and we can change that default. And by changing it, we can do that. We can do a pure, which is the name, and we can say false. Let's see. Okay, false. I think I'm missing something. No. Okay, so now this becomes an impure pipe, and now it's also detecting impure changes. So when we go back into app component.ts, remember this is the part where it doesn't work when it's pure. But because it's impure and the pipe is impure, it's also going to read impure changes. It's going to be detected. So if I write J, you have the 4 names here. If I add the student, you're also going to get Jenny. And so that's a quick solution to getting that. But again, there are some, Angular doesn't recommend to do that because of the performances that could come across when you do these changes. So let me get some +3s if you kind of understood that, or want me to go over, maybe go another example. Or if anybody has questions, raise your hand and let me know. Okay, so we saw how we were able to do a pure and impure pipe, and we saw that there was one way of altering the reference to make it a pure change, or the other option was to create our filter pipe into an impure pipe. And by doing that, we just added false to this. And so that's what we did. But I kind of want to show you guys, see what's the best way to show you. Let's see what's the best way to show you how performance could be affected by this. And I'm going to see if I can, I don't know why you just got all, okay, here we go. All right, let's just clear this out. And I'm going to do, I think it's, is it console? Console log, yeah. And the message, and this is filter pipe. Called. Let's see if we can get this. And this is an impure again, because it's impure because we just said false. We said false to it. And what I mean by performance is that this could get called on every change detection. And so if you have a heavy logic here, it could affect your performance. And that's why Angular doesn't recommend to have either sorts or filtering on your for pipes. They recommend you to handle that on the class component side, having that logic there. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let's see if I can. I think I can do some. Let's see. Okay, so now we set it to false. Okay, so let's go into the table. Let's create an let's listen to a mouse. Let's listen to an event called mouse move. Anytime the mouse moves, it's listening to that on mouse move function. Just gonna create a dummy function here. on mouse. So let's move. Let's just see if we can get some. Let's see. And it doesn't come out. But, thinking. I think this is the event. Yeah. Okay. Give me a second. My computer is running a little slow. Let's see. Okay, so we're in the console. Nice. Let's close this out. Wow. Okay, so wow, look at that. Without even doing anything, the filter pipe is already being called 50 times. So that's a ton of times that it's being called just by that. I can move around, and you just by moving the how many times it's being called. So you could just imagine if you have some heavy logic on your application, and this pipe is doing all these unnecessary calls. That's why again, Angular recommends not to have a filter pipe or a sort pipe. And so if you have this dilemma, you should probably consider handling the logic on the class, and consider having your pipes all pure. It has to be a really good reason why you would do impure, but now you have the options, and you kind of know the difference between the pure and pure. I think that's it for me. I don't know if there's any questions or anybody wants to go over something else.
Anybody have any questions?
Guess not.
Yeah. That was
random
sorry.
question. Have you heard of memos? It's not like a native thing to Angular, but I think it's native to React. Memoization.
I've heard of it for dynamic programming, but I don't know if it's the same.
Yeah, it's a very yeah, same concept. It's also like kind of how pipes work, as Thomas mentioned, that typically pipes are supposed to run when Angular thinks that your arguments have changed or changed like primitive value or reference. But that's like what memoization does. But yeah, that's like a new pattern that a lot of cool kids are trying to adopt in Angular, which
interesting. I never thought of it of using it in Angular.
What about signals? Because aren't signals supposed to change how the change detection works?
Yeah, signals have memoization as well. Yeah, so they're an example of using memoization.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Use memo, use callback from React. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same idea.
Well, thank you very much, Juan. I'm going to go ahead. If we don't have any more questions, I'm going to go ahead and stop the